This is project 1 for Manufacturing 2208 Portfolio Creation. In this project, we're going to go ahead and we're going to learn a little bit about how to create a web page with your portfolio images. A good thing to do before you get started is just make sure that you have a folder full of your, folder on your computer or on your backup drive that contains your images that you have from your models that you've created in SolidWorks or in other packages that you might have used. And then we're going to go ahead and model something inside SolidWorks. At the same time, we're going to model the header and the top of the web page, and then maybe some of the little buttons as well. So this is what we do when we get started. First of all, inside SolidWorks, I'm just going to go to File and New and start a new part file. I'm going to go ahead and start a sketch on the front plane. I'm going to proceed to sketch out a box. In this case, I'll make just a rectangle, like so. You can measure this out if you want, or locate it however you'd like. In this case, what I'm going to do is just make sure that this is going to act as the top of my web page. So we'll extrude it. Doesn't have to be very thick at all. At this point, we might want to change the colors of it just to make sure that it's not too overly bright or abrupt, unless that's what you want. I'll make it like a grayish blue. And now I'm going to go ahead and select the front face of it, start a sketch, and I'm going to put in some details. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and start to draw in some buildings for a background. I've decided I'm going to make my web page look kind of like the city. Some of you have seen my other web page. I'm basically redoing what I did in that one. And I'm going to make a cityscape here. Okay, then I'm going to go ahead and just cut it. Using an extrude cut, I'm going to cut away everything at the top. The next thing I want to do is I want to get the background looking a certain fashion. So I'm going to go to the Tools options inside SolidWorks and set it up with a gradient background. It already has a gradient, but we'll make it look like it's an evening, maybe fall-like. So we'll go to the colors under System Options, and under Top Gradient, we'll go ahead and we'll make it very dark. And then the bottom gradient, we could give it maybe an orangish color, and take a look at how that looks. And then make sure you select Gradient as the option here. Okay, that's not exactly the greatest, but we'll use this. And then here as well, on the model, I'm going to go ahead and make sure I change that to a black color. We could also put in some windows using the rectangle tool, so we could start a sketch. Give it the appearance that it's nighttime, with some people have their windows on, or the lights on in the windows. Okay, I'm just going to extrude those. And we'll turn those to a white color. Under color properties, to make it a little bit brighter, there are some settings in here under optical properties, and we could increase the ambient or the diffusion, maybe reduce the specularity, and increase the emission. Okay, I'm going to also go to View and turn off my origin. And as a matter of fact, I think I'll actually change the background. I'm not fond of the orange color. It looks very polluted. So we could go back to the Tools Options menu here. And under the colors, on the top gradient, to make sure I select just pure black. I think I had it set to a little gray. And then over here we'll go with more of a purplish blue. There we go. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and we'll bring up Microsoft FrontPage here. Now with Microsoft FrontPage, there are other programs out there nowadays. Most common was FrontPage. Went up, you'd get it automatically if you had Office Professional up to 2003, I think it is. Otherwise, Microsoft has two new products. One is called Expressions, and then the other one is called SharePoint. SharePoint is one I have. It looks fairly almost identical to this. I haven't looked at Expressions, but I hear that one's somewhat similar too. I don't know what the difference is between the two, unfortunately. But anyway, you could download those for a 30-day free trial, and I guess there's like light versions of those that you could download for indefinitely. They just don't have all the little libraries and bells and whistles that you might find. But what we're going to do here, we're going to first start off, and it's not a bad idea to make sure you have folders set up in a certain location under My Webs. Otherwise, it gets a little hairy, but you could still get by. We're actually going to just start new here with a new page. But if you can see, you could go with a new web, and this would create a new folder, and therefore you could just put everything that you have inside that folder as you develop your website. But in this case, we'll just go with new page. Now there are your typical pages. There's frame styles, style sheets that you could pick from. I'm just going to go with the general normal page and hit OK. And this works a lot like Microsoft Word does. And you could actually copy and paste images and crop them and put them in there and drop text in and things like that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go back to SolidWorks, and it's probably not a bad idea here to I'm going to go ahead and select the front plane again and put some text in, because if you had text inside the Microsoft product, if the person doesn't have the same font you have, it has a tendency to kind of it uses a replacement font. It doesn't always look good. So if you want to make sure that it's in here, you could use SolidWorks, or you could actually use another program like Paint from Corel, or else Photo Paint, I should say, or even Adobe Photoshop to edit and put things in. And so here, well, I'm going to actually do it all in SolidWorks, since I'm not sure if you all have those programs, and that's just learning a whole nother animal there. So we already know how to use this, so let's do it. So again, I'm selecting the front plane, starting a sketch, and I'm going to go ahead and draw an arc spline here. And then I'm going to end that spline, and I'm going to convert it to construction over here on the left. Now what I'm going to do is, while it's still selected, we could tell that because it's blue, I could go over here to the text tool. Now this will enable me to apply text to it. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and put in a name, and I'm going to call it the model library. Now you could actually put in, if you want your resume on here or whatever, you could give it different names and things like that. But I'm going to go ahead and put this in, and then down below here I'm going to go to font and choose a different font. Something that's kind of bold, that stands out. Like in this case, I'm going to go with Arrow. You may not have Arrow, so you might have to select something else. Usually Impact or Hattenschweiler works really well. It stands out. But you be the judge, and I'll go with 36 points here to make it rather large. And you can see that we spread it out there. We could even span it all the way across by selecting center align, as well as full justify. Actually, I think I'm going to center align it. And then over here we have the options of increasing the spacing. You don't want any of those letters intersecting each other, especially on a curvy line, because then it will fail to extrude. So now that I have that selected, I could go to Features and extrude it. Okay, and then we'll change the color of that too. So while it's still selected, we could go over here and select something bright. And we can enhance the colors over here. Emissivity seems to brighten it quite a bit. And hit apply. Now what we could do, we could go ahead and we could copy and paste that. So we could hold the Alt key and hit print screen. That will take only what's in SolidWorks as a bitmap, and we're able to drop it over now. So I'm going to toggle over the Alt, holding Alt and then hitting the Tab key will toggle me back to front page, and now I could hit Control V to paste it, and there it is. Now if you want to crop it, you just select it, and there's a crop tool right up here. You select crop, and you can see the crop marks, and you could grab the corners and drag them in, and then you could scroll down and maybe cut off the base a bit and make sure you get up right up to the edges so it looks like it's a full cityscape. You could also move this little bar over here, and that looks pretty good. Now you just hit enter on your keyboard, and now you have your first image into your front page here. Okay, it's not a bad idea to put your name or something on there. There are other tools in here as well. There's word art. You could add word art if you wanted, things like that. I'm going to go ahead and dock that up here. But I'm going to go back to SolidWorks, do a little more work here. I'm going to hold the Alt and hit the Tab key, get back to SolidWorks. I'm going to start a new file. And again, on the front plane, start a sketch. And we're going to make a button. So for the button, you could really use any design you want. You could use circles or arcs or ellipses. I'm actually going to use an ellipse just for fun. And I'm just going to draw this out. Okay. And then I'm going to extrude that. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and change the color of it too. I'm just select it. And we'll change the color. And again, we could change the emissivity. Make it a little bit brighter. Or maybe I might even go with green. Let's see how that looks. Alright. Maybe, I think let's go with purple. And we'll turn the background off in just a moment. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and select that face and start a sketch. And I'm going to just put the text on right away. And I could have actually drawn a line. It's not necessary though. You'll see here in a second where we click and point, we're able to drop the text in just a moment. So I'm going to go ahead and put on this as the, I'm going to put resume. You can see as I click, I could drop the text. Unless I wanted to follow the geometry. I'm going to give this kind of a NASA look. So we're going to go ahead and we'll take that resume text and we're going to use the document font, turn off use document font, and go with something maybe arrow again. And we'll make it considerably larger. And maybe even a little bit larger than that. Let's go with 48 points. All right, I'm going to go ahead and extrude that now. I'll just go to Features, hit the green check mark first, then go to Features and Extrude Boss. And in this case, I don't want it to merge with the actual, well, I guess I can let it merge. That's fine. And again, the color, it's probably not a bad idea to go with white and enhance the emissivity. Now you could choose whatever colors you like. All right, and again, I'm going to turn off my origin here because when I take the snapshot, I don't want that showing up. And I'm going to kind of give this a 3D look, but before I do that, let me go over here, and I'm going to go to the options and turn off my purple background. So I'm going to go to Colors, and just use Plain, hit OK. And we could leave the shadow on there, that looks kind of neat. And again, we'll hit Alt and Print Screen. Now when we go to Front Page here, we can now drop that in. Again, we can hit Control V, and this drops it in once again. We could see here, we could click on the image, and it automatically moves us down a little bit, but that's fine. And now we could go over here to Crop, and again, we'll just drag the little lines down. Oh, actually, I could just click and drag a fence around it. That's almost easier here. And I'll hit Enter. Okay, it's a bit big here, but that's no problem. We just grab this and drag it in, make it smaller. If it's too small, we can drag it out. All right, now you can just start throwing these up there, or you could add links as you go along. Now, if you want to link this to a document, like in case you would have a Word document or a PDF file for your resume, this is all you do, or you could even link it to another page. You can right-click, and you could go to Hyperlink, and then you just locate where you, like in this case, I have a folder already with my resume in it. Double-click on that, select my resume, hit OK, and now that has an active link to the resume. And if I want to test it out, I could just hold Control on the keyboard here and hit it, and it should bring up my resume using Microsoft Word. And that's technically how a web page functions. I might actually expand this out a little bit, being that I'm at 1024 by 768. I could probably enlarge that. The quality starts to diminish, so be aware that that might be an issue. You might want to make your image much larger or zoom up on it before you do the print of it. Okay, let's go and add a couple more buttons. So again, I'm going to hold the Alt key and hit Tab and go back to SolidWorks. And now I could just change this text. If I click on it, there's the option to edit the sketch. And then just double click on the text and type in the next one. And the next one I'm going to put on here is gallery. And I just hit rebuild. And again, I just take a snapshot. Alt, print screen on your keyboard. Now Alt and Tab to go back to front page. Now I could have these buttons spread across the top here, or I could have them listed on the lower left, and as you scroll down you would see them. Either one is fine. I'm actually going to have them down on the lower left. So I'm going to click again. I'm going to hit Control V to paste. I hit my Enter key there. And now here I'm going to use the crop tool again and do the exact same thing. Just surround that and then hit Enter. Again, be careful. In this case, I cut off a little too much. That's all right. Just make sure that when you do these, you could always hit the undo switch. I'm going to leave it because it's pretty close. We'll just squeeze it back down. Remember, don't rotate your model inside SolidWorks. Leave it at the same view perspective that it was at, and then they'll look nice and they'll organized like these appear to be. And we'll do one more. I'm going to hold the Alt key and hit Tab, and then we'll edit this sketch, and we'll click on the text twice, and the next one we'll put in is art. Although, let's see here. We could also, okay, actually let's not use art. Instead we could put something else in. In this case we could put down models. Hit the green check mark and rebuild. And now we could go ahead and do a print screen once again. Alt, print screen. Alt and Tab to get back to front page. Hit the enter and Control V to paste. Once we select it, again it zooms up on it for us. Maybe get a better view this time. And again we'll click on crop and just envelop that model. And then bring it up a little bit. Oops. Remember, if you need to, you could always trim these up later inside here to make them aligned a little bit better. As you can see, this one is sticking further out than these. All I have to do with that is, again, you can use the crop tool and just drag this in a little bit. Hit enter. And it will, sure enough, bring that in. Same with this one. Until they look pretty uniform. Okay, there's all this other space that can be used over here as well. There's other things you could drop in. In this case, we could drop in some word art, and we could select some of these interesting different fonts or things like this one. I'll select that. Let's see how that looks. And I'm going to go ahead and put my name in it. Now you generally don't want to jazz up your web page too much. You want to make it look as professional as possible. This is going a little bit beyond what I would say professional. But I just want to show you as much as I can what you can do with this. And as you can see here, you have the text in there. There's also boxes and other artifacts you could drop in. Under drawing here, we could put in boxes. And then you could right click and go to the format the auto shape, just like you do in other packages. And in here you could give it different fill colors. And the line, if you want a border, we'll go ahead and just give it a black line. Different lines, edge styles, maybe a bit thicker, bolder. We could put notes in there if we click on add text, and you could actually insert images, whatever you might want there. In this case, I'm going to delete it. And as a matter of fact, I think I'm going to delete that too. It's just not going over that well. If we look under Format Word Art, there are other options like layout, size, and different options that you can fiddle with it, colors as well. But what I want to do here is I'm going to, just on this page, I think I'm going to leave it pretty basic. And I'm going to make another page. So let's go ahead and save this. And we'll go ahead and give it a name here. And I'm going to call this my P1 2208 and hit save. And it's going to save our images with it. Okay, and we can see now it has a folder list. If you created a new folder or under, when it gives you the option over here, new web was an option that we had actually earlier. We could have actually created a whole new folder. So if you want to throw the whole thing out, you can, or you could start over, do whatever you like. But we have our resume link already put in. But how about the gallery? To do that, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and insert a new page. And so we could go up here, click on page. We'll go again with a normal page. And we'll use the word art for this one. Or we can make use the art tools down here. And over here, I'm going to go ahead and format this. Under color, there's fill effects. We could give it a very similar look and feel as the last thing that we modeled in SolidWorks, or we could remodel something new or take what we used in that other one and drop it in here and just add text to it. But in this case, I'm going to go with 2 colors, and the top color again is going to be black, the bottom will be purple. And then the border, we could actually have no border if we want. We could also add text here. And now we could go ahead and type in whatever we want. In this case, I'm typing in gallery. We could change that font style. Again, I'll use arrow. At this point, be aware though that if the person does not have the same font on their computer system, it's going to substitute it with something else, and it might look a little silly. So actually, in my case, arrow might not be the best thing. Maybe Arial Black might be better, because that's a more commonly used font, and most computer systems have that on there. Okay, also for the size, I'm going to go with something rather large. And then we could also change the color of the font here. And here we have, let's see here if we could select something different. There, I changed it to white. And we could also have it over justified to the left or to the right or whatever you want. Okay, now I click on the other end, hit enter again. And so we're done with that. Now what we can do is we can start adding our images. Okay, so now to add some thumbnails, and actually in our gallery. What you want to make sure is that in your C documents and settings, if you're administrator or whatever your name is, you go in there and then you'll find in my documents, you should be able to find a folder called My Webs, and in that folder there's usually an images folder like you see right here. And what you can do is you could go ahead and insert images from there, and all you do for this is you just go to insert. Well, first of all, locate where you want the image on the screen, go to insert, picture from file, navigate to that My Documents, My Webs, Images folder. Make sure you dropped in all your images there ahead of time, or else you won't see them there. And find what you want to drop in. And in this case, I'm going to go ahead and select an image here. Go to Insert, and we get a very big picture. And what's really neat about this, you just right-click on it, and there's something called Auto Thumbnail. What this does is it automatically makes a smaller image of it. Notice it has a blue highlight around it. Usually when you see a blue highlight, that indicates there's a hyperlink. Meaning, if we were to test this web page out, remember you could hold Control and click on it with the left mouse button, and it will open up a larger image. It actually downloads the picture, and so they could see it in Paint or in another viewer. So we could just continue to add these in here. So I'm going to go ahead and insert another one. I'll give myself, I'll hit the Tab key to give myself a little space in between each one. And then again, I'm going to go to Insert, Picture, from File, and select my toothbrush picture. And again, right click on it and Auto Thumbnail. Hit Tab again, and we'll go back to Insert, Picture, from File, and in this case I'll select my pizza oven, right click, Auto Thumbnail. And if you need to spread them out a little bit more, just use the Tab key. And this is how you could basically generate a whole gallery of your images. Let me insert a couple more here. Insert picture from file. and right click Auto Thumbnail, tab, insert picture from file, insert Auto Thumbnail. And we'll just drop one more in here. All right, now all those have links automatically established with them. And again, you could put in any little notes in here at any time. You just type it in. So I could go ahead, type in copyright or renderings. Created using SolidWorks and PhotoWorks. Trying to do this with one hand, so I apologize. Okay, now we could go back to our original sheet. In this case, let's save this one. And we'll call this page 2, 2208. All right. Now if we want to go back, you'll see there's a tab up here that has our P1 2208. And that was our gallery. Now we have to link our gallery tab or button that we created to that page 2 2208. So what we do, we right click, we go to hyperlink, and we should see it right over here. It's one of these. There it is, page 2 2008. Hit OK. And now if you want to go back there, you just hold the control key and hit that, and it automatically links to that page. And if you want to go back, we could actually make another link here. As a matter of fact, let's go ahead and make a button. And we'll add text. And we'll put a return to main. Okay. Now we could hyperlink that. We could right click on it, go to hyperlink, and there's our page 1. Okay. So now anyone could go ahead, if they want to return, they just hit the control key, brings them back. There's the resume. We have that done. We have our gallery done. And the 3D models, you could use a couple different formats, and we'll cover that in another lesson. And that's all for today.